Coach, thanks for stopping by. We appreciate it.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. There we go. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, they don't take MRIs for hips. They take X-rays for hips. So if they didn't take,
I did both.
Oh, at the same time?
Yeah, they weren't quite sure.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, all right.
But not to we're going to go on this topic, but you've done great with yours.
The hip is honestly, it's not a bad procedure to go through, and it's much easier than a knee replacement. Knee replacement is very painful, and you got to fight through the rehab. And hips, once it's done, it's I'm much better off.
Yeah, because I've seen you.
I don't know.
There
has not been a person I know who's had their hip replaced who hasn't said, "I wish I had done it sooner." So
that's how you felt too.
Now, did it feel like a grind pull?
Talk to your physician.
Yeah.
Look at him. He's trying to get info now.
I got to get that free stuff.
Yeah. Right. But anyway, we move on.
Yeah.
Nice win over the Lakers the other night. I thought, Mike was talking about Dame's numbers and going 36 points through three quarters. And some people, we were saying at one point when the game was at least a tad more competitive, well, he'll get his career high tonight. But really wasn't any need. And I think it perhaps is more impressive that he got the 36 in under 30 minutes. You talk about efficiency.
Well, he was very efficient. He had his stroke was going. It was he wasn't drawing much iron. He was I thought he played a very efficient game, not just his scoring, but just his leadership on the court. He was close to a triple-double the other night, and he had 3 rebounds for a triple-double, and same thing, he had a chance to get a career high. But I'm a big believer in, those things happen organically, and if a guy is close to 1 or 2 points or 1 or 2 rebounds, something like that, then why not? But, it's far enough away that, it will happen. And like I said, I think you're up 25. It's do it the right way.
And if you put him in there and something happens, then you get killed for that.
Yeah, and the plantar fasciitis and all that. Yeah. So it certainly wasn't worth the risk. And, I understand when you have opportunities like that, but he's going to have a long career.
Yeah.
Looking at this Utah team, Sacramento team, defensively, the last 5 games, they've improved by 10 points per 100. They were giving up 106 a game. Now they're giving up 96. When you look at tape of that team, is it because Cousins is scoring that he's starting to play defense, or how does they go about improving on defense that much?
Well, you'd have to look at there are probably a lot of factors. Who they've played. Willie Cauley-Stein is playing now, gives them some length and size inside, and Rudy Gay's been starting at 3. Although Rudy Gay's been hurt the last 2 games, we don't know if he's going to play. But I think it's hard to necessarily point to one thing or another, but I will say this: watching them, it looks like they're together. It looks like they're in a rhythm. Everybody's playing their roles. Certainly Cousins is playing terrifically. I think Rondo's rounding into shape, and I think they're just developing some chemistry. And defensively, like I said, the only thing I could necessarily really point to would be Cauley-Stein getting some minutes. He did not play against us.
I still think your win down there earlier in the season without Dame when CJ had the big game is one of the most impressive wins of the season.
I was thinking about that today when I was watching it again, was the fact that obviously Dame did not play. Ed Davis did not play.
Right.
Mason Plumlee got his 5th foul early in the 4th quarter, and so our finishing lineup was Tim Frazier, CJ, AC, Mo Harkless, and Myers Leonard.
Right.
And that was the lineup that ended up pulling away and doing the damage in the 4th quarter. So it was, looking back on it, it really was a significant win for us.
And it was a sellout, and they were talking about moving to the 8th spot, and George had a chance to catch Phil Jackson with the win. It was all those things combined, and I think it was a second of a back-to-back for us. I think it was. No, I don't think it was. Anyway, but it was a good win. And the Kings now are rolling with their 5 in a row. When you look at, and this is kind of a broad question to go from specifics about an individual game to the season, 20 and 26, and yes, there are 3 or 4 that stick out in your mind, I'm sure, that are disappointing, and some strange things happen. The Dirk tip in, the Brewer one-legged three-pointer, which sent to overtime in Houston, the Milwaukee 4-point lead with 20 seconds. There are games like that you feel like you had, probably more than you felt like you won, which is a good thing. Has it surprised you at all how things have come together with this young team?
Again, I get asked if I'm surprised about a lot of things, and I'm really not, because I thought we had a lot of good young players, and you point to all those games. Now, if we were sitting here having won all those games, and we're sitting here 2 or 3 games over 500, maybe, but I think in our minds, we haven't scratched the surface, and we should be better off than where we are. And I wouldn't say it's a surprise. I know the competitive nature of Dame, who leads the team, and everybody is in line with that. We have a lot of good young players. I think the format that Neil put us in, as far as getting a lot of good players in the same age range as Damian, that are proving that they are good players. And so in that sense, it doesn't surprise me at all that we are competitive.
Looking at big games, the game tonight with San Antonio and the Warriors, will they use that to determine how they're going to play against each other maybe later in the year? What's the strategy behind a big game like that? Draymond Green against Kawhi Leonard, that.
Yeah, I don't know. With Pop, trying to figure out what Pop's going to do, that's a whole nother equation. But I think they will certainly. A lot of times you don't take much away from the first time you play a team, but it's the fact that this is in January, late in January, and I think they play each other 3 more times after this. So I don't know. This will be kind of a feeling out area. I think both teams will probably play their game and kind of see where things are at the end. I don't know. I don't think either team is really going to go out and try and reinvent the wheel. I think they're both going to play their game and see how they measure up.
Dave, one more question before we go to break, and this is one you've also been asked, like the last one I asked you. And I'm not going to ask you to predict whether or not Dame will be an All-Star. It's certainly been his finest season, I think, and he's shown more growth in a lot of the areas that he said he wanted to grow in: defense, rebounding, all these things, getting to the line. Does he deserve to be an All-Star? Put it that way.
There's no question he deserves to be an All-Star, and what he has done for our team. And you talk about whether we're surprised or not. Certainly, we've surprised a lot of people. Otherwise, they wouldn't have picked us to finish last in the conference. So,
and 26 wins.
Yeah. So we certainly have overachieved in a lot of people's minds. Hopefully, a lot of the voters' minds. And Damian is the key reason for that. It's a team, and we've had a lot of contributions up and down the roster. But certainly, Dame has had his best season and has been a critical part, an integral part of the success that we've had.
And it's amazing when a lot of people said, when LaMarcus left, that Dame was getting all those threes because of the attention paid to LaMarcus, and now teams will crunch him and squeeze him outside. He won't get the production. So to see his numbers and his shooting percentage and his defense go up like they have, I think that's reason enough right there.
No, I get, and it's tough to make the All-Star team. If you go through the rosters, there's a lot of deserving players. And
does San Antonio, for instance, deserve 2?
Well, I would be giving away my vote if I said that.
Right. That's a loaded question.
Well, they already have one, right?
Right.
So you're asking if they deserve another one.
Yes.
And who might that be?
Well, it's L.A. If they take a second now, it could be Tony Parker.
Well, some people are saying Dame makes it over Tony Parker, and that could be the other wild card.
I don't think it's Tony Parker's his competition. I think it's LaMarcus. I don't think he's a shoo-in.
Isn't that interesting?
I think it's very interesting, but with their record, you kind of.
I was watching TNT the other night, and Charles and Shaq and Kenny had their, and Ernie had theirs, and I thought that was a nice cross section of basically the odds. One, I think Chuck had Damian in, the other 3 didn't. So you've got, I think somebody had. Couple of them had Tony Parker and some didn't. Somebody had, there was, I think they had like 5 were the same, and then the next 2 were, up in the air. So it's going to be close.
Yeah.
And I like the answers, as always, that Dame has given when asked about this, that he does believe he's an All-Star, and that if he doesn't make it, he's not going to go. And that's not to say he's going to be protesting or anything, but I do like the belief in himself and the fact that he comes right out and is honest about it.
No, I think Damian has a great attitude about it, and you have to have that confidence in yourself. He has a lot of belief, and he wouldn't be having the career he's have if he didn't have that confidence in himself.
All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll get into a few more things with the head coach, Terry Stotts. Trail Blazers Courtside coming your way tonight on Comcast Sportsnet, Rip City Radio 620, and streaming live, as always, on trailblazers.com.
a few more questions in French, if possible.
Okay.
Est-ce que vous êtes surpris par cette saison de CJ McCollum ou pas? Est-ce que vous êtes surpris de ses performances sur le parquet?
Non, on savait qu'il était un très bon joueur. Il peut marquer des points. Il a fait en université et malheureusement, les 2 premières années, il était blessé et il n'avait pas de chance à montrer tout ce qu'il peut faire.
D'accord. Et justement, cet été,
That's great. That was after the Washington game the other day. Doing a French interview.
C'était après le match de Philadelphie.
Okay.
C'était pas à Washington, c'était Philadelphie.
Does that happen very often, guys? I mean, is that mostly back east thing?
Non, de temps en temps. C'est pas toujours, mais de temps en temps. Surtout à l'est.
Oh,
Now, how long were you in France that you picked this up?
5 ans.
How long?
that's 6 years?
5 years.
5 years.
Oh,
I had French in high school. I had French in high school and a semester in college, and then I played in Italy, Spain, and France. I picked those languages. They're all very similar languages. I picked up Italian pretty quickly, and then I went to Spain. I lost my Italian. I spoke Spanish pretty well, and then I went to France and lost my Spanish. And France was the last place I played, and I played 5 years there. So, and that was 25 years ago.
Now,
so to be honest, I'm surprised I even remember some of this stuff.
Well, it sounded like you
some
were,
of the words come from over here sometimes.
Now, have you conversed with Nick when he was here?
No, it's like I tell everybody, is when I was in France, I preferred to speak French because my French was better than their English. But here, when I had Boris Diaw and Jan Mahimi and Nick Batum and all their English was better than my French, so there was no point in me speaking French. But I could from time to time.
You still speak Spanish some, because we were at that season ticket or that sponsor deal last fall, and the guy I prompted the guy to ask you a question in French, then he switched to Spanish, and you did too.
Well, I think the Spanish would come back pretty quickly if I spent any time in a Spanish-speaking country. It would come back pretty quickly. But right now, I kind of search for the words. But I'm always surprised when I'm searching for a word and somehow it comes back to me.
Probably when you don't think about it.
Yeah, right.
We talked about Dame a lot in the last segment. C.J. McCollum, you heard us talking about the Most Improved Player award, and CJ at times bristles a little bit about the title of that award, even though getting recognized would be great. How good has he been? And we've talked about you being surprised about the season. Has he done anything this year that has surprised you?
Well, I hate using the word surprise because with players, I don't want to say that it almost implies I didn't think they.
You've been pleased with him.
Yeah. I've been very pleased with him. I think probably the thing I've been most pleased with is his ability to play backup point. That was a question mark coming into the season. We made a commitment that he was going to be our backup point, and that was an area that we wanted to see him grow. We knew he could score. We knew he could play off the ball. All those things that he's doing, time on the court, feeling more comfortable, I don't think that was necessarily a surprise for anybody. But, coming in and making a commitment that he was going to be our backup point guard, he was going to get all of the backup point guard minutes, and he's done very well. Obviously, in the 6 games, he and Dame both missed the Atlanta game, but in the 6 games that he's played basically strictly point that Dame was out, we're 4-2. He played very well. The Sacramento game being an example of that. You talked about whether that was a back-to-back. We had beaten Cleveland the night before with CJ at point. So it's I think that's the thing that we're probably most pleased with.
You're such a well-rounded person. I know on the plane and everything, you're into 1,000 different things besides looking at tapes and everything. Must please you a lot to see CJ and Lillard and how they've expanded their horizons in other areas other than basketball.
I think it's really important that they all have interests, and they're all very committed to being the best basketball player that they can be. I think everybody has their interests. Certainly, you look at Chris Kaman; he has a few interests, and he's lasted a long time.
Yeah.
But I think it's regardless. I really don't. I think it is important that other guys. I don't expect them to sit around and just live basketball 24/7. They need outside interest, and really, it's everybody has their own taste. And I think they both have done a nice job in whether it's Dame's rapping career or CJ's media career or whatever it is. And I say career, it's just interest right now. But
interest.
But I think that's very important for all the players.
We mentioned earlier, you talked about Neil O'Shea and the blueprint and the changes he made. And a lot of people talked about last year's team, how good the chemistry was. And perhaps it would surprise some, but it shows the importance of bringing in, and kind of related to your last question. The chemistry on this team seems tremendous, especially considering it's not a team like a San Antonio, who we talked about, who's been together a long time. A new group of guys, but brought in by a guy who perhaps realizes the importance of chemistry. Watching practice and being around the group on the plane and on the road, this is not only a bunch of great guys, but a bunch of guys who get along.
Those guys that play 2-on-2 before practice, even, they're like brothers.
Yeah. Yeah, they are, and I think that was by design, no question, by Neil, that we brought in good players, good character guys. We have a culture with the Blazers at the PF as far as practicing and working and enjoying each other's company. I think the fact that they all are very similar in age, they have a lot in common, and it is good to see that. And from a coaching standpoint, you like this to be the beginning of, okay, this is what we're establishing, and then watching it grow from there. Who knows what happens 2-5 years from now, but if you establish it now and then this is just what we do. And I think the way things have come together off the court, or chemistry-wise, as you say, I think is going to be, it's not only important this year, but it will be important for years to come.
Do you think much about your contract?
Not really, no. That is part of the business. It's just honestly, the only time I think about it is during negotiation time.
Yeah.
Other than that, I go and do my job. It doesn't affect how I do my job.
Right.
And I've been at it long enough that things usually work out.
And you got a great staff too.
I have an awesome staff. I wish I need to find ways to.
And so do we. And I was just thinking that before you started answering that. Give them some.
That was kind of a backhanded.
No, but it's true though, and that's why I brought that up, because we talked about the chemistry among the players, but what gets overshadowed is the chemistry among the staff, and you guys have a great one.
No, I really, Nate Tibbetts, David Vanderpool, Jay Triano, Jim Moran, Dale Osborne, and John Yim, our video guy, they work extremely hard. They have great personalities. They work well with players. I think one of the things that we've done well in my time here is young players have gotten better. Even the ones that aren't even here anymore have gotten better. And I think it's directly related to how well our assistant coach and my staff works with the players.
They're fun to be around.
They are. And our coaches' meetings are informative, fun. They're not drudgery. I don't think they when they get my text about saying what time the coaches meeting, I don't think they're rolling their eyes. Hopefully they're not.
Right.
You talked about a team, and as far as getting along in chemistry, all pretty much the same age, and you mentioned they're kind of like brothers. Chris Kaman is such an interesting guy that we all know. But how valuable has he been as almost a member of your staff in some ways? And I think you admitted at one point you used a play that he suggested at some point.
Yeah, we call it CK.
Is that right?
Yeah, we named it after him.
And it's an out-of-bounds play, side out-of-bounds?
No, it's a play for a big man.
Oh, well, surprise there. Yeah. But he's been terrific in handling what maybe could have been a difficult situation for him, in really not being a part of the rotation, the regular rotation, but knowing he possibly could be. But he's handled it so well, and his help to the other bigs, and even his relationship with some of the younger guys, and I know he and Damian have a very good relationship.
He has been fantastic. I don't have enough adjectives really to describe how valuable he has been. He is a voice of reason. He has a great personality with the players. They all like him. He has insight. They respect his opinion. He practices every day. He's working on his body. The one thing, and I've told this to other people, is that we were very fortunate. My first year, we had Jared Jeffries, who was a great veteran player for that team. And that was his last year playing. And then the following year, we had Earl Watson, who was a great presence for that team. And that was his last year playing. Chris is having the same effect, but this shouldn't be Chris's last year because he can still play. He's 32 years old, be 33. He's a big man. He can be effective. He was an integral part of the rotation last year on a 50-win team.
Yeah.
So, I hope for his sake that people realize that he is doing this in a position where he still has game left. And there are a lot of veterans over the years that I've seen that that don't take so kindly to that role when he can still play. You know, Irvin Johnson, I was with Irvin Johnson in Milwaukee, and he was 37 years old, and he knew where he was in his career and was terrific in that role. But I've also been with some players who were 35 and weren't quite ready to give it up, and were a little disgruntled when they weren't on the court. And, you know, I can't say enough about Chris in this situation, and Jared and Earl prior to him.
And I know Chris, he's an information machine, because he comes back and he'll say, how much do you make?
He's not afraid to ask questions.
Oh, man.
No, he's brutally honest and occasionally blunt.
Yeah, to a point.
Sacramento tomorrow night as the homestand continues, an important homestand for you guys, and after what was a brutal December in terms of travel and games, and you know how often the games came and all the road games. Great to come out of that month in this position and with a big opportunity down the stretch.
Well, this is an important stretch for us, and you know we've got 30-some games, 36 games or something like that. So every game's important, and certainly, but the ones that you're playing, like Sacramento, and we played Utah not too long ago, but when you're playing a game against somebody in the standings, it is more important, and I think I know we understand that, and we're going to be ready for it.
Sacramento and then Charlotte. You'll see Nick Batum coming up.
Kemba Walker.
Yeah, no, he's been fantastic too. Then Minnesota, Milwaukee, and Toronto. But great to be in the race late. And I bristle it. We talked about it a little bit, and we don't have enough time to go into it. And people are talking about draft picks and stuff in terms of the Lakers and whether or not to win or lose games. I can't stand the discussion. And I know that you guys coach to win. The players all play to win, and that's the way it should be.
No question. And you know, one of the things that probably the thing I was most pleased with my first year was that we were relevant up until the end of March. You know, we were in the playoff hunt into March, end of March, and that was important way of laying the foundation, I think, for what happened the following year.
Exactly, and that's what we talk about, the culture of things and moving ahead, and you know, keeping that kind of atmosphere around, and that's what you guys hope to do. And this year in the West, the door is perhaps open where maybe in the past it wasn't at the bottom of the conference.
That's true. That's true.
In the bottom part of the playoff race anyway. Yeah. Coach, thank you very much.
Always a pleasure, guys.
Appreciate it very much. Blazers tomorrow night taking on the red-hot Sacramento Kings as DeMarcus Cousins named the Western Conference Player of the Week today. He has been a guy that's been difficult to stop, and I assume Mason Plumlee will be up to the task.
Yes, he will.
And company.
Yeah,
those guys have been good too. Yep. We didn't go through every guy on the roster, but a lot of the acquisitions have been great. And not only Mason, but Ed Davis, the way he has played off the bench and has been happy. And he gave you a kind compliment the other day, saying you're the coolest coach he's ever played for.
I live to be cool.
Well, thank you for watching. And tomorrow night, right here on Comcast Sportsnet, Trail Blazers and Kings. And then that's followed again in the homestand by Charlotte, Minnesota, Milwaukee, and Toronto as the Trail Blazers now 20-26 with 36 left to go. And it's great to be in the race, and let's all hope that continues. Thanks to our entire crew tonight. Great job. Didn't get to talk about you guys, but we will next week certainly. And thanks for watching and listening, and good night. We'll talk to you tomorrow night.